People can be tough to figure out sometimes, and every now and then they can be downright scary. Kirsty had just gotten home from a long day at work when something immediately felt off. She'd been texting her close friend and coworker Richard like she usually did, but suddenly, silence. No replies, not even a read receipt. Now, Richard wasn't the kind of guy to just go off the grid. He was always quick to respond, even if it was just a thumbs up emoji. So when nearly a full day went by, 20 hours with nothing, Kirsty's gut told her something wasn't right. She didn't wait around. Worried sick, she called the police and asked them to do a welfare check at Richard's place. But when they got there, no one came to the door. Still feeling uneasy, Kirsty came back the next day, this time with Richard's family in tow. That's when things got even weirder.
The ones that called.
Yeah, that's my assumption. The whole family here, huh?
Yeah, father-in-law, mother,
Sister?
Yeah, his sister.
So are you gonna go and see?
Well, no, we have
No,
to.
you guys are gonna go and
He
see.
just has to stay. Yeah. They don't
Okay.
have.
Not you.
I'll just hang out here with the officer.
So what's the story? Besides what I got was you guys don't like the roommate, or there's some problems with the roommate because he has mental health issues, and you haven't heard from your brother in a day?
Last I heard from him was last night, and the only reason it's a concern is because his roommate is currently mentally unstable and brought an unregistered firearm with him a few days ago.
Okay.
And they had some kind of conflict over the weekend because he was trying to get him to move out.
And then you haven't heard from him since last night. And no call, no show to work.
Cool. So you got the key? What's her name?
Richard's roommate Nicholas met them at the door, but this behavior was seriously off. He was jittery, cagey, and oddly insistent that nobody go upstairs. Red Flag City.
No, I haven't really seen him lately. He said he was going to be doing some camping and stuff, and he just wants to get away for a while. So, yeah.
That's super weird. He told me he was going to be home today. He might be sleeping. You mind if I check his bedroom?
Actually, if you want to check his bedroom, I suppose you should. You could, but...
Yeah, he might be sleeping,
Yeah, so
Cool.
please, come on in.
Great.
I was really hoping to get some sleep just now, but that is not what's going on. So.
Sorry, we'll be out of your hair shortly.
Oh.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, this is all their family. They're just worried about him.
Yeah.
If you want to come out, I'll give you the details.
Actually, that's probably okay. I could probably... This is probably not a good idea.
Well, they're just going to go check his room. It's all good.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
I appreciate it, yeah.
not do. I think maybe if we could just come outside and talk for a minute here, I would appreciate that. If we could just do that. Do you guys happen to have a smoke on you? Because I haven't had a cigarette.
I can go check my car, but...
Here's the backstory. Nicholas had been living with Richard for about a year. Richard had taken him in during a rough patch, trying to help a friend get back on his feet. But now the good deed had taken a dark turn. The more Kirsty and Richard's family pushed, the more obvious it became that something was very wrong.
You can come with me, because they're going to go inside and look for their brother, their family member. They have a key to get in, so...
Yeah.
Yep.
That's probably not the best idea.
No, that's a good idea.
Check on the cat too.
Oh,
Yep.
yes. Actually, the cat does need her medication and stuff. Are you familiar with her medication?
Yeah, Rip, you're going to just leave with that.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and do that real quick. Come on in. No, don't.
Hey, sir, what's your name?
Nicholas Van Cleve. Yeah, don't go in there. Definitely not a good idea.
Don't go where?
Nowhere. Can we go ahead and... Oh, yes, that's a... Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, can... She's up... No, go up there. No.
They're going to go check on their family member.
Oh, yeah. So
here, let's go see if we can find you a cigarette.
yeah, let's go get a smoke, but... Joe...
You and I are going to go to smoke. Come on, let's go, man.
Actually, I would actually like 3 smokes and stuff.
Well, if I find some, I'll give you some.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now.
Come on, dude. Come on.
When the police got further involved, the disturbing truth started to come out. What they found inside the house was horrifying, enough to put Nicholas in handcuffs right then and there.
We found a bag in the bathtub upstairs with bloody, I'm not sure, something.
Okay. Did you find your family member?
There is a common bathroom upstairs, but there's
Nothing in that one.
In the master bathroom.
In the master bathroom, that's
there's
his bedroom.
2 white trash bags coated in what I would assume is blood. Heavier, I just picked it up by the edge with this hand, but heavier than, I'd say, 25 pounds of sugar, and one of the bags had what I would...
Did you open them up?
I tried to, but there's like bags within bags. So there was more red blood on those, but one of the bags was kind of protruding out, or something ripped out, which I would assume as well. And then there's blood on the living room floor, smeared, dried, like attempted.
Chris, you are under arrest. Just stay seated. Okay, we're gonna grab your hands and put them behind your back.
I'd rather you just. I'd rather.
Come on, man.
I'm not trying to think. You not. Wait. I know. Time. What is?
We're gonna have you talk to our detectives.
Why we have so many people around me?
How many people we got here right now? So we're gonna take you back to our station, have you talk to detectives. We're gonna advise you of your rights real quick. Okay.
Good.
He was arrested on a serious charge, with bail set at a staggering $2 million. A court date was locked in, but the damage was already done. Everyone who knew Richard was left shaken, especially Christy. She had opened her heart and home to someone she thought was trustworthy, and that's the part that sticks with you. Because if you can't trust someone you've known for years, then who can you really trust? So get this, there's been a serial cat killer on the loose in California, and people have not been taking it lightly.
What happened here is all these people are very angry at this guy and protesting because he is known as the cat serial killer.
After weeks of fear, heartbreak, and outrage in the neighborhood, authorities finally caught the person believed to be behind the cruel attacks.
Police say this is Acosta next to a white pickup truck, luring a cat with food, and then when a cat approaches, he puts his foot on the cat and applies pressure.
You think that would bring some relief, right? Well, not exactly. Shortly after the suspect was taken into custody, he was released on bail. Yep, bailed out. And that's when things really blew up. Because let's be real, when someone goes after innocent animals in that way, it raises serious red flags. It's not just about pets, it's about public safety too.
Hey, Edgar, so what's happening here is all these people are very angry at this guy and protesting because he is known as the cat serial killer. Last week, the police did a search at his house. They found 12 cat carcasses. He was arrested for felony animal abuse, but was released on bail. You can understand why people are very angry. He should be locked up with no bail.
Right now, the biggest question hanging in the air is, how could someone accused of something so disturbing be allowed to walk free, even temporarily? This is the terrifying moment when a heated argument at a traffic light spiraled into something absolutely tragic.
And there's people shot right now. Somebody just got shot.
What started as just words between two vehicles quickly turned into a nightmare, and all of it happened in the blink of an eye. It went down in Panama City, Florida. A red SUV and a gray pickup truck were both stopped at a light when the folks inside started exchanging words. Witnesses say it began as a verbal argument, but things got physical for a brief moment before the red SUV pulled away, probably trying to defuse the situation. But instead of letting it go, the pickup truck followed. That's when things took a deadly turn. As the pickup drove alongside the SUV, the man in the passenger seat reportedly pulled out a handgun and made a chilling threat. Then, out of nowhere, 11 gunshots rang out.
Oh my gosh.
The chaos that followed was heartbreaking. 2 people inside the SUV were hit. The gray pickup sped off into the distance, vanishing as sirens began to wail.
Just hold pressure on it. Don't move her. No,
They're trying to perform CPR. Okay. Looks like somebody's on the ground.
Inside the red SUV was a woman who was just out celebrating her 48th birthday with her family. That woman, MYUU Lewis, was the driver. She didn't survive. Her daughter, Mary Lee, was critically injured in the shooting and remains hospitalized. She's on a ventilator, unable to speak or move her right arm, but she's able to communicate with her family in small ways.
She is still on the ventilator. She can communicate with me, but she just is not. She's unable to speak, unable to use her right arm.
The man accused of pulling the trigger has been identified as Jubal Simmons. He's now facing a murder charge. The driver of the gray pickup has also been arrested and is facing charges for trying to flee from police. In the wake of this tragedy, the family has launched a GoFundMe campaign to help cover both funeral costs and mounting medical bills. What was supposed to be a joyful birthday outing turned into a devastating loss, one that never should have happened.
Well, it could be the upper arm or a leg.
Well, there's three. There, and there.
Imagine walking into your teenage son's room to clean up, only to find a human head hidden in his closet. That's not a horror movie plot. It's exactly what happened to a Colorado mom in 2021. She made a frantic 911 call, shaking and barely able to speak. Within minutes, officers rushed to the house, and what they uncovered inside will leave the entire country speechless. This is the chilling story of Brian Coey, the 19-year-old who murdered a homeless man, dismembered the body, and stored the parts in his own bedroom, while his parents lived just down the hall.
Reminded you of violence because it came from the Halloween movie? Yeah, it was Karen the brand. Yeah, it's a jumpsuit.
It started like any other day for Terry Coey, Brian's mom. She went into his room to tidy up.
So we have the car towed back to the address, and of course with the battery being wet, nothing was operating. And so my husband was cleaning out the car because he was going to take it into Scotty.
But when she opened a Rubbermaid container in his closet, something wasn't right. She saw a plastic bag, heavy, covered in maggots. She picked it up, curious and horrified. She rushed it to the sink and opened just one layer of the bag before stopping dead in her tracks. Inside was a human head. Terry called her husband. He checked Brian's car. The glove box was full of water, and inside was a massive knife. That's when they called 911. That's when the nightmare truly began.
Well, it could be the upper arm or a leg.
Well, there's three. There, and there.
Police quickly brought Brian in for questioning. The victim was 69-year-old Warren Barnes, a kind, gentle, homeless man who spent his days reading paperbacks outside a bridal shop in Grand Junction. Locals called him the reading man. He was known, he was loved, but to Brian, Warren was a target. In Brian's own words, "I always wondered what murder would feel like." Brian had been planning the murder for 6 months. He picked a homeless victim, believing no one would care or notice if they went missing. On the night of February 27th, 2021, he saw Warren sleeping under a bridge and decided that was the moment. Brian said the full moon gave him good visibility. He put on 3 layers of gloves, crept up to the sleeping man, and stabbed him repeatedly in the neck. He described making animal-like growling noises as he killed him, and if that's not disturbing enough, he told police he actually enjoyed reliving the murder as he explained it to them.
Cooperate? I am going to cooperate.
Okay, so parents have some concerns of some stuff they may have found in your room?
Yeah, I believe so.
2007 Ford 500, and I keep a small 18-inch bat in there for self-defense and a large kitchen knife.
And how did you get here?
I murdered someone.
Okay.
After Warren was dead, Brian dragged the body to his car, drove it home, and began to dismember him. He placed the head and hands in bags, then stashed them in his closet like old clothes. Other body parts were found in the freezer and even flushed down the plumbing. He attempted to sink his car with the rest of the remains inside by rolling it into the Colorado River, but the car didn't fully submerge. That failed stunt helped police track him down and connect the dots quickly. In court, Brian showed no emotion. Even as Warren's friends and family stood up, one after the other, describing their heartbreak. Warren wasn't just a homeless man. He was kind, he shared his food with birds, he helped small businesses move boxes. He wished strangers a good day and softly responded with, "And you also." The judge gave Brian life in prison without the possibility of parole, the mandatory sentence for first-degree murder in Colorado. Brian's mother, Terry, sobbed in court. She said she'd always known something was off about her son. He'd been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, ADHD, and autism spectrum disorder. In middle school, his nickname was Dahmer, after Jeffrey Dahmer. She thought he was fascinated with crime scenes because he wanted to become a forensic investigator. She never imagined he was training himself to kill. A memorial now stands where Warren used to sit, a metal sculpture of his chair and a stack of books. One of the book spines reads, "And you also." It's a tribute to a gentleman who never hurt anyone, and a sobering reminder what can happen when darkness goes unchecked in the most unexpected places, even in our own homes. It was just another busy day at Orlando International Airport, families hurrying to their gates, flight announcements echoing through the terminal. But inside a quiet women's restroom, something unthinkable was waiting to be discovered. Cleaning staff unlocked a bathroom stall and froze. There, lying lifeless on the floor, was a small dog. No leash, no food, no water. Just a heartbreaking, motionless body. The stall had been locked from the outside. Whoever left the dog there left it to die. That's when the airport security team sprang into action. They pulled surveillance footage and began piecing together what had happened. Cameras showed a woman walking through the terminal earlier that day with a dog on a leash. She appeared flustered, anxious. The woman was later identified as 57-year-old Allison Agatha Lawrence. Video showed her going into the restroom with the dog, but leaving without it. That was the last time anyone saw the dog alive. A necropsy would later confirm what many feared. The dog died from neglect. It had suffered in the heat with no ventilation, no water, and no one to help. It likely panicked, confused, and scared in its final moments.
That's just, I don't know, it's despicable. I don't know how that can process in somebody's head and think that's okay.
But we did talk about the lady and the dog just last week, wondering why she hasn't been out walking her dog.
Investigators described it as a slow, painful death. Lawrence was eventually tracked down. She had boarded a flight and left the airport without ever mentioning the dog. When questioned by police, her answers were erratic. She told investigators she believed she was being followed, that someone was chasing her, and she left the dog behind out of fear. But law enforcement didn't buy that explanation. They believed she knew exactly what she was doing.
No one was at Lawrence's home today to answer questions, but her sister spoke with us yesterday, claiming Lawrence wasn't home and didn't have a working phone number. Is there anything you want to tell us?
No, ma'am. I don't know anything about it, so no.
Do you know why she drowned her dog? That's what police are saying. So.
You have to ask the police.
The state charged her with aggravated animal cruelty, a third-degree felony. That means she could face up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. The case sparked outrage online and in the community. Animal welfare advocates were furious, calling for harsher penalties in cases of deliberate neglect. Airport officials called it a tragedy that should have never happened. People who knew the dog or even just saw the photos couldn't believe such cruelty had taken place in a public space, and the calmness with which Lawrence left the airport as if nothing had happened made the situation all the more chilling. There are still unanswered questions. Why bring the dog to the airport at all? Was this a planned act or the result of a deeper mental health crisis? Authorities are still working through those details, but one thing is certain, the small life loss in that restroom stall didn't go unnoticed. That dog had value. It deserved love, protection, and care, and the justice system is now making sure someone is held accountable for betraying that trust. Volcanic eruptions have shaped the Earth throughout history, leaving behind unimaginable destruction and even causing mass extinctions. In 2019, this destructive force was unleashed again. Stephanie Brown was on vacation in New Zealand with her father Paul and sister Crystal, cruising on the Ovation of the Seas, a Royal Caribbean ship. They docked at White Island, one of the country's most active volcanoes, a literal island volcano. The island felt like something out of another world, with towering great rocks and clouds of steam rising from hot springs. In the center was a massive crater filled with a steaming acidic lake. Tour guides took visitors there before leading them back to the shore. By this time, Stephanie and her family were enjoying the experience. They just started walking away from the crater when Stephanie paused to snap a photo. That's when she noticed black smoke rising from the lake. Moments later, she heard a tour guide shout, "Run!" At 2:11 p.m., the volcano erupted. A massive shockwave knocked people to the ground as an acidic cloud of poisonous gas, boiling water and ash, shot 12,000 feet into the air. In seconds, almost everyone was engulfed in scorching smoke. The island turned into an oven, and those closest to the lake were killed instantly. Stephanie could barely breathe, overwhelmed by the heat and toxic fumes. Time seemed to stand still until the smoke began to lift. revealing the full scale of the disaster. Stephanie and her family needed immediate medical attention. She suffered third-degree burns over 70% of her body and received skin grafts from 12 different people. Tragically, both Crystal and Paul died from their injuries. Out of the 47 people on the island, 22 lost their lives in the eruption. The survivors faced a grueling recovery process. Stephanie later spoke about her experience on 60 Minutes, honoring her sister and father and adjusting to life after the tragedy. She pushed forward, not just for herself, but for her mother, father, and sister.
I pushed forward not only for myself, but for my mum, my dad, and my sister.
She also took legal action against Royal Caribbean, claiming they didn't adequately warn her and others about the dangerous volcanic activity. Just a week before, boiling mud had been seen shooting nearly 100 feet into the air, but this information wasn't shared with tourists. Royal Caribbean eventually settled with Stephanie for an undisclosed amount, and all visits to White Island were suspended. Today, the incident serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers of volcanic eruptions, raising the question, which volcano will be next? In the afternoon of the tragedy, Ellen had taken 5 of her 6 children to the community pool at MacArthur Place Apartments in Dallas for a day of swimming and bonding. She was reportedly playing with her 2 youngest children in the shallow end, while her 3 older kids were swimming deeper. Suddenly, the 3 older children slipped under the murky water. As a certified nurse and mother, Ellen screamed for help, but it was too late.
Is this the 2300 block?
Right there, he right there. Yeah, he in the water. He in the water. He right there in the... Oh.
Sir, tell me what's going on, please.
He in the water. He ain't moving. He in the water. Down low. Drowning. Need police. ASAP.
Okay, stay with me, okay?
Okay.
Irving Fire Department.
Look, we in Oak Village. It's a girl that's drowning in the water. We don't know if she will, we don't know if she ain't, but we need somebody here right now.
She did what?
Oak Village in the pool. On MacArthur.
She drove into the water?
No, fire department, I think they're saying there's a child that drowned. Fire department, I think it's going to be 2302 leasing office, 2302 North MacArthur.
It's 3426 North MacArthur Boulevard.
3426?
Yes, and there's 2 others down in the bottom of the pool. We just got one of them out, but she's not responding.
3426. All right, I've got another call at 2346. Is that...
20, yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. I'm turning the numbers around. 2346.
There's one that's pulled out and there's 2 more in the pool?
Yes. Yes, we can't see, but we're touching it. We're touching with the pole.
Okay, so there's a total of 3 kids.
Yeah, they brought another one up. There's another one. There's another one missing. Oh my God, 2 kids, but they're not breathing though.
All right, does anybody there know CPR?
Yes, the mom's trying to, but she's going crazy, of course.
Okay, we need to see if we can't start CPR on these children. How many children?
Right now, there's 2 out of the pool. There's 1 missing, and underneath all three of her kids.
All 3 of her children?
Yes.
Do we know where the 3rd one is?
On the bottom of the pool.
Is in the bottom of the pool? Is there somebody going after?
I think that 2 of the employees jumped in, tried to get them out.
Okay, so there's 3 children, and all 3 of them are unconscious?
Yes, there's 2 outside, and there's 1 more missing.
By the time emergency medical services EMS arrived, Ellen's 10-year-old daughter, August Smith, had already passed away at Children's Medical Center, Dallas. The other 2 children, Trayshawn and Anthony, were rushed to the hospital but sadly died the following day. In the aftermath, Ellen was arrested a month later, and her surviving 3 children were placed into foster care. The eldest child was 17 at the time. In 2019, a plea deal was reached where Ellen's charge was reduced to negligence and she avoided jail time. She was given 2 years of deferred adjudication probation, meaning that if she met all the conditions, she wouldn't serve time in prison. Throughout the investigation, rumors about Ellen's actions spread, damaging her reputation. Some witnesses claimed she was using her phone during the incident, but the investigation revealed that no calls or texts were sent from her phone, and surveillance footage showed her desperately trying to locate her children in the murky water. Ellen, now 34, expressed relief after the plea deal, as it allowed her to focus on regaining custody of her children. In a separate incident, Wendy Lavarnia called 911 in March 2017, reporting that her 2-year-old son had gotten a hold of a loaded gun and accidentally shot her 9-year-old son, Landon, in the head. Wendy recounted the tragic event during the call, explaining that she had left the gun on the bed and then realized her son could reach it. She attempted to apply pressure to the wound while waiting for help, but tragically Landon's injuries were fatal.
Tell me what the emergency is. Slowly.
My son, he is 9 years old. He was shot in the head.
Okay. How did that?
He is 9 years old. My day brother. I got my gun down. I was on the bed like an idiot. And 9 years old. I didn't think he could fire it, and he shot it. And then I saw him standing up and playing a video game, and it shot him in the back of his head.
Okay. Listen.
We're on the way as well.
Thank you, Petey. Is he breathing? What I want you to do is get a dry, clean cloth, put direct pressure to the wound, okay? Okay, what caliber weapon was it?
A 9mm.
A 9mm handgun? All right, ma'am. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay, put direct pressure to the wound. Try to control the bleeding. Is he still awake? Ma'am, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're away from the phone or if you put it...
No, I'm putting it to my... I'm putting it in my ear, my head in my ear. Okay, his little lips are turning a little blue, but his eyes are a little open. He's not responding though.
Okay, what I want you to do is just get a dry, clean cloth, put direct pressure on the wound. We need to control the bleeding. Now, put your ear to his mouth. Is he breathing?
I think so.
Okay, and he wasn't holding the gun when it happened, correct?
No, he wasn't holding the gun. My 2-year-old kid.
Okay. And it's a 2-year-old boy that picked it up?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll be there shortly.
Wendy and her husband, Kansas, were charged with murder after the investigation. Police body cam footage captures a tense disagreement between Lindsay Shiver and her estranged husband Robert, which led to her arrest in the Bahamas for allegedly ordering a hit on him. The incident began when Lindsay changed her travel plans at the last minute, deciding to board the family's private plane to the Bahamas instead of meeting up with her lover, as Robert claimed. 5 days later, she was arrested in connection with a plot to kill Robert. The footage shows police arriving at a mansion in Georgia where the couple's dispute was unfolding.
We have filed for divorce.
Okay.
Living in the same house. It's hell on earth, as you can imagine. Just got super aggressive, and that's when I called immediately because he's been physical before, and I'm just not doing that.
So are you just wanting to leave? Or is he supposed to be going with you?
Yeah, we're supposed to be going with our kid.
Lindsay, a former beauty queen, called the cops, claiming that Robert had pushed her while they were packing for the flight. She accused him of being physically aggressive, which was a recurring issue in their relationship, and she said she wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. When asked if she still wanted to leave, she confirmed that she planned to go on the trip with her children. Robert, however, insisted that she was trying to change her plans to meet her boyfriend instead of traveling with him and the kids. He told officers that the couple was separated and in the process of getting a divorce.
She sent a message saying that she's going to change her plans and now get on the airplane with me and the kids to go to the Bahamas. She's going to go to her boyfriend, and me and the kids are going to our house.
As the officers discussed the bizarre situation, they were puzzled by the idea of a couple still planning to go on vacation together despite their separation.
Why are you filed for divorce and going to go on vacation together? I mean, that's not something that we can work out.
No arrest was made during the encounter and the officers left the scene. However, 5 days later, Lindsay and her boyfriend were arrested in the Bahamas. Prosecutors alleged that she had texted her boyfriend saying, "Kill him." Both Lindsay and her boyfriend deny any plot to harm Robert. Lindsay claimed she was simply venting during a difficult divorce and the text wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Lindsay must remain in the Bahamas until her trial.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start, 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
The Challenger, NASA's 25th Space Shuttle mission, launched on January 28, 1986, as a major spectacle. It was watched live by countless people and had a crew of 7, including Krista McAuliffe, a teacher from Concord, New Hampshire. Krista was part of the Teacher in Space project and was selected from 11,000 applicants to be the first civilian in space. Her inclusion brought significant media attention, and schools across the country broadcasted the launch for students to watch.
The president said the first private citizen is going to be a teacher. I remember Steve saying, well, you've got to apply. This would be wonderful.
Did you think you had even a prayer?
I really didn't. I was almost doing it kind of like when you play the lottery. If you don't play it, you don't win.
That cold winter day, many of the crew's friends and family, including Krista's parents and her backup, Barbara Morgan, were present at the launch. What started as an exciting moment quickly turned into a nightmare.
The picture you were just seeing is Christy McAuliffe's parents, watching in horror. These are the students from her school.
So I get down.
They may not realize yet what has happened. You see concern etched on their faces, the breath that they've been holding released, and then the realization sets in that something is wrong.
Just 73 seconds into the flight at an altitude of 46,000 feet, the shuttle broke apart, scattering debris across the area for over an hour. The entire crew tragically lost their lives. What should have been a proud historic moment became a heartbreaking disaster. The wreckage was recovered, including the crew's cabin, which remained mostly intact during the breakup, suggesting that the crew might have survived the initial destruction. However, upon impact with the ocean, it became impossible to determine exactly how they passed. NASA believes the crew likely succumbed to oxygen deprivation or the force of the impact. The final words from the crew were a chilling "uh-oh," spoken by pilot Michael Smith just before the shuttle broke apart. After this, all data was lost. Evidence retrieved from the cabin's wreckage indicated that at least 3 emergency air packs were activated, which raises the disturbing possibility that some of the crew may have been conscious as the cabin fell. The cause of the disaster was ultimately traced to a leak in one of the solid rocket boosters, which ignited the main fuel tank. The O-rings, which were meant to prevent such leaks, failed due to the cold temperatures that day. Had it been warmer, the incident likely wouldn't have happened. Even more tragically, NASA engineers had voiced concerns about the O-rings' reliability for over 2 years, warning that it could be a major issue. They even pushed to delay the launch the night before due to the cold weather, but their warnings were ignored. Had the engineers been listened to, the 7 lives could have been saved. In response to the disaster, NASA implemented stricter safety protocols and made significant changes to its safety oversight. However, the media coverage, the excitement around Krista McAuliffe being the first civilian in space, and the failure to heed the engineers' warnings made this tragedy even more painful. Even 40 years later, the bravery of Krista McAuliffe and her fellow crew members, Francis Scobie, Michael Smith, Ellison Oniska, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, and Gregory Jarvis are remembered and mourned. The families of the 7 crew members carry the deep pain of their loss, but as a nation, we continue to honor their sacrifice. Stephen Griffiths, later dubbed the Crossbow Cannibal, was a deeply disturbed man who harbored aspirations of becoming a notorious serial killer. In 2009, after being arrested multiple times and released, Griffiths began targeting sex workers in the Bradford area, killing them with a crossbow. He even used public transport to move their remains, hiding them in bin bags for disposal. The chilling footage that ultimately led to his arrest showed Griffiths casually flipping off the camera while committing one of his heinous crimes.
Griffiths was arrested in May 2010 after CCTV footage of him attacking Miss Blameras at his block of flats was discovered by a caretaker at the complex.
Instead of showing any fear or remorse, he appeared completely unbothered by being caught on tape.
And what sort of location have you put them in? If you can't tell us where, what sort of location have you put them?
don't know, where a robot, where a computer would put it. You know, a rational, emotionless aberration would put it.
Why did you feel the need to kill her?
I don't know. I don't know if I was... So, just... Sometimes you kill someone to kill yourself, or kill part of yourself. I don't know. That's like deep issues inside me.
So why did you feel the need to kill any of the girls? Fun?
I don't know. Well, I'm misanthropic. I don't have much time for the human race.
This moment of sheer arrogance sealed his fate, leading to justice for his victims. Several years after the Zodiac Killer haunted Northern California, the region was plagued by another terrifying criminal known as the I-5 Strangler. This nickname came from the fact that his victims' bodies were found along Interstate 5 in nearby roads. Between 1977 and 1987, the Strangler claimed at least 7 young women's lives, leaving the area gripped with fear. But unlike the Zodiac, this killer was eventually caught. On May 10, 1991, 52-year-old Roger Kibbe was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of 17-year-old Darcy Frackenpole. While he was always suspected in the other killings, it wasn't until 2000 that DNA evidence finally linked him to the crimes. In a strange twist, Kibbe struck a deal with authorities. He would avoid the death penalty if he helped them locate the remains of Lou Ellen Burley, one of his victims.
If I understand correctly, Ms. Burley was your first homicide in 1977.
77, first one.
Start at the beginning of what was going on in your life that week and that day and how this came about.
Curiosity got me.
Now, when you met her the first time, this girl, what were you thinking you might do?
I might have been thinking, can I get away with this?
And then get away with what?
Get away with her.
Well, what were you going to do? Were you going to rape her?
Have sex with her, yeah. Kidnap her, rape her, have sex, kill her.
How did you feel about killing her?
The first time I ever did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
I don't know. I felt bad later. I did it, thinking about it. But while it was happening, blank mind. Don't think of anything. It's like a fog.
How'd you feel about the rape part of it?
I knew what I was doing was wrong. And if it's wrong, you can't like it.
A lot of people like doing things they know are wrong.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
If you had to rate that as a sexual experience from 1 to 10, where 10's the best, how's it go?
Probably an 8. Anything below that, below 8, almost has to be on her part. I got a headache, I don't want to do it.
So would having sex with this kidnapping victim be the equivalent of pushing your wife into having sex with you even though she has a headache and says she doesn't want to?
Right.
That's about the quality of the sex for you?
Not very good for her, probably good for me.
When they asked you why you killed Lou Ellen Burley, your first murder victim, you said it was just to see if it could be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's that mean?
You make a plan, see if you can carry it out, see if it can be done. That's all. It's like stacking bricks.
Do you see it as a challenge?
Mm-hmm.
So you're given the answer like, why do you climb Mount Everest?
Because it's there.
However, fate would later take its own turn. In an ironic and somewhat fitting end, Kibbe was strangled to death by his own cellmate, bringing an unsettling close to the story of the I-5 Strangler. The man you see in the footage is Metropolitan Police Officer W. Kuzin. First, he's seen renting a car at a station in Kent. Later, he's caught on CCTV buying hairbands at a mall. Then Sarah Everard enters the scene walking casually. Kuzin stops her, accusing her of violating COVID-19 protocols. He handcuffs her and drives her away in his rental car. At that moment, Sarah likely felt a false sense of safety, believing she was in a police vehicle. Tragically, she would never see her 34th birthday. The next time Kuzin is seen on camera, his horrific actions are already behind him. He's buying hot chocolate and a bakery item. Later, CCTV catches him at a gas station, but instead of filling up his car, he's filling a jerry can with petrol, likely for something sinister. He also stops at a store to pick up a flatback trolley that he had purchased, hinting at the chilling nature of his plans.
So we're here to talk to you about Sarah. I'm going to show you a picture. Do you know Sarah?
I don't know.
Okay. Sarah went missing. I'll show you some pictures of her on the day.
Okay.
Sarah went missing on Wednesday, and her parents obviously and her family are really worried about her now. The inquiry that's been conducted so far has led us to come and speak to you about it and to see what you know about Sarah, okay? So, would you like to, do you know where Sarah is?
No.
Right, okay. Do you know anything about what happened to her?
I know that she went missing up in London somewhere, about a week ago or so, just from what I got on the news.
Okay. Have you ever personally met her?
No, not personally, no.
Have you had any interactions with her at all?
No, why would I have personal interactions with her?
Well, it's very difficult because I can't go into a lot of the evidence because obviously that's not part of what an urgent interview is, okay? This interview is just about trying to find her. Because
Sure.
she's been missing for a while now.
I'm sat in handcuffs and asking me what I know her, so you must have something to say that I know her.
Well, as I said, you've been arrested on suspicion of kidnap, and we believe that you've been involved in her disappearance and taking her away from her family.
Okay.
So we are trying to find her. Now, we believe that you know something about where she is, and that's why we're here, to look for her and to try and find her. And that's why we're talking to you now, is to try and get you to have a good think about it and tell us anything you can about where we might be able to find her.
Okay, well, I am in financial, and I've been lent on by, I don't know who they are. They're a group, a gang, whatever, and they told me, right, I need to go and pick up girls and give them to them. So I said, not happening, and it then came through that they're going to harm my family, take them away, and they'll use them instead. At that point I had no option to try and find somebody. So I don't, there's a couple of names. I was told a place to take her. That's it. That is all I know. Parked my car up, and then the van come up behind me, flashed me. They all jumped out, and then they took this girl. They said, you've done good, and I don't know whether my family's going to be alright still. But they threatened to take my family away from me. So at that point, I'm doing what I can to protect my family. So I'm here. I'm off work with stress because I'm here to protect my family. I want to be here 24/7 for my family. They come from my family. I've got nothing myself. I've got no choice.
I'll go back through the route with you in a minute, alright? But how do they contact you? How did you contact them?
I tried to take over on one of their call girls and rip her off. So she's told them, and they've got me.
On March 8, 1987, what was supposed to be a routine autopsy took a dark turn. Dr. Lee Lehman was examining the body of 44-year-old John Powell, who had spent the last year in a coma at Cincinnati's Drake Memorial Hospital. Everything seemed pretty standard until Lehman caught a whiff of something unusual. It was that telltale almond-like scent, cyanide. That's when things got real. Lehman immediately suspected foul play, and the Cincinnati Homicide Unit was brought in to dig deeper. Their focus quickly landed in Donald Harvey, the hospital orderly who had discovered Powell's body. At first they thought maybe it was just this one case, but that was only the tip of the iceberg. As the investigation unfolded, Harvey admitted to far more than one murder. In fact, he confessed to killing 36 people over a span of 17 years, many of them patients under his care. He claimed he was easing their suffering, but his methods were cold, calculated, and horrifying.
What I was doing I thought was right. And the patients that I took care of, I like to think, I made their passing easy. They didn't have a choice, and sometimes there was no family there to make that choice for them. And I made it for them. I was being the judge and the jury and executioner. There was 15 deaths when I was 18.
There's already been 15?
No, when I went to work in the hospital, the year between I was 18 to I was 19, there was 15 deaths.
And you mentioned one time the pillowcase. What are the other methods?
I started using morphine because it wasn't controlled that much in Kentucky, especially in small hospitals in the 1970s. And I did unplug a couple of ventilators. I used cyanide, I used arsenic, I used adhesive cleaner, a plastic bag too.
Were you experimenting, or was it just whatever was available?
I wanted the quickest method of death.
Well, did you consider them victims, by the way? The patients?
No, I don't consider them. They were my patients. I never looked at it as murder till I was actually arrested. I always looked at it as mercy.
But they weren't all mercy.
No, they weren't
all mercy.
No.
Now, the first death will occur at about 18 years of age with you. Can you tell me about that, how that happened?
Just one guy, he'd had a stroke. He had an IV in, and he got the IV out, and the sister told me to go and clean up the bed and change the IV, take it out because it was empty. And when I went to pull back the sheet, he covered me in stool. It was in his hand, and I smothered him to death.
How did you do that?
With a pillow. I wasn't going to take any more. I mean, I'd had enough. And when he put the stool in my face was the breaking point.
You believe that? That's what happened?
It started me on the roller coaster, which I couldn't get off.
And what about the business with the animals?
I killed my bird. My mom told me I had to take it back because it wouldn't survive.
Yeah.
It was just a little tiny thing. And I refused to give it up, so I killed it with a hole. And I also took the neighbor man's 2 cows later on. I was about 16. I was right before I graduated from high school. I took them out into the woods and slit their throat. That was the only thing I ever did for his animals.
Do you consider yourself a sociopath?
Well, that's what most people consider me.
What do you think?
I'm just Donald Harvey.
Yeah.
I haven't changed a bit. I have been rehabilitated. I'm ready to go back to the streets.
Although he managed to avoid the death penalty, karma came knocking eventually. On March 30th, 2017, Donald Harvey was brutally beaten by a cellmate. He was rushed to intensive care, ironically ending up in the same kind of hospital setting where he'd once acted as an angel of death. This time, though, he was the one fighting to survive, just like so many of his victims had before him. On February 4th, 2010, Don Brancho, an experienced orca trainer at SeaWorld Orlando, was getting ready for what should have been just another big performance. At the time, SeaWorld was famous for its exciting shows featuring orcas, called Shamu, during performances, pulling off all kinds of incredible tricks. Crowds packed the stands to watch these powerful creatures leap and splash on command. But here's something a lot of people didn't know. Shamu wasn't one single whale. It was actually a stage name used for multiple orcas over the years. The orca Don was working with that day was named Tillicum, or Tilly for short. It was enormous. over 12,000 pounds and 22 feet long. And while he was a star of the show, he also had a very dark history. Tillicum had already been involved in the deaths of 2 people before that day: Kel Byrne, a part-time trainer who slipped into his pool, and Daniel Dukes, a man who trespassed into his tank after hours. Yet despite this deadly track record, Tilly was still performing in front of audiences. Dawn, though, truly loved the animals she worked with. She didn't just see them as performers. She treated them like family. She had dreamed of working with marine life since she was 10 years old, and by the age of 40, she was one of SeaWorld's most respected trainers, with 15 years of experience under her belt.
Obviously, they're giving out a lot of energy too, but we're working together and having a lot of fun as well. You're amazing. Thank you. You really are.
That day, though, things were already off to a rocky start. During a previous performance, the orcas were visibly agitated, chasing each other around the tank and not responding well to cues. Trainers had to cut the show short, but despite the warning signs, the next show, Dined with Shamu, went ahead, and Dawn took center stage alongside Tillicum. In video footage from the performance, you can see Dawn smiling and interacting with the whale. But if you look closely, something seems a little off. Tilly wasn't following commands the way he usually would. At one point, Dawn gave him a whistle cue to return for a reward, but instead, he kept repeating an earlier behavior. It was subtle, but it was definitely a sign that he wasn't fully in sync. The real horror, though, came after the show was over. Dawn stayed behind at the edge of the pool to spend some extra time with Tilly, likely to continue their bonding routine. Even though the main event was finished, guests were still watching, some from a nearby cafe, others from an underwater viewing area. Tillicum had been trained to swim to the glass and greet visitors, and Dawn gave him the usual hand signal to do just that, but this time he didn't follow through. Instead, without warning, Tilly lunged, grabbed Dawn by her ponytail or arm, reports vary, and yanked her into the water. What happened next was terrifying. Tilly began thrashing her around in front of a stunned crowd, performing a violent barrel roll underwater with her in his grasp.
Do you know so you don't know if the person was injured or if they're having a medical problem?
No idea.
Okay, very well then.
I don't even think they're out of the water yet. They're still in there with the whale, so...
Okay, but someone is on scene and they are getting them out of the water now.
There are people working on it, yes. There's about 2-3 dozen people over there right now.
People watching from the cafe and below had no idea what to do. The situation quickly turned into a full-blown nightmare. At one point, Dawn actually managed to break free and made a desperate swim for the edge of the pool, but she didn't make it far. Tilly grabbed her again and dragged her back under. For minutes, guests and fellow staff members could do nothing but watch in helpless horror as she was overpowered by the animal she had trusted and cared for.
At least 30.
And these are guests?
These are all guests and education members,
Okay.
and photographers who are getting ready to take the picture for the
Okay.
people that booked the tour.
Okay.
Okay.
And then what happens?
And then basically I saw him pull her in. I saw her in the water, so I knew that he had her.
Eventually, SeaWorld staff were able to separate Dawn from Tillicum and pull her out of the water, but it was far too late. The injuries she suffered were catastrophic. Dawn had drowned.
Orange County Sheriff's Office.
We need SO to respond for a person at SeaWorld. A whale is one of the trainers.
A whale, one of the trainers.
That's correct.
And just like that, a celebrated career and a lifelong dream came to a tragic and violent end. In the wake of Dawn's death, major changes were made. Trainers were no longer allowed in the water with orcas during performances. SeaWorld was hit with a $75,000 fine from OSHA for safety violations, and public backlash only grew stronger. Then came the documentary Blackfish in 2013. The film exposed the grim realities of orca captivity and painted a disturbing picture of SeaWorld's practices. It sparked outrage and had a lasting impact on how people viewed marine parks and animal entertainment. As for Tillicum, he was kept isolated from trainers for the rest of his life and remained out of public performances. He passed away in January 2017 at the age of 35 after spending most of his life in captivity. Dawn Brancho's story is still remembered today, not just for the tragedy of her death, but for the love and dedication she had for the animal she worked with. Her story stands as a sobering reminder of how powerful and unpredictable creatures like Tilikum really are, and the risks that come with putting them on display for our entertainment.
I was driving to work and some girl jumped in front of my car and I think I might have killed her.
Oh my God.
So you might have to grab our daughter.
Huh? I'm on my way to get her.
One tragic night in Peoria, Illinois, a devastating car crash shattered the silence. Emergency crews raced to the scene, but for one person, it was already too late. The impact had been fatal. As first responders worked around the wreckage, the driver, clearly shaken and overwhelmed, began to grasp the horror of what had just happened. Her expression said it all: panic, disbelief, and the crushing weight of knowing this wasn't just a fender bender. Someone had died.
So this is somebody hit by a car and they're saying they're not moving. Cat control needs to be removed.
This is what I wanted it to be like.
In a heartbreaking moment caught on camera, the woman can be heard calling someone, telling them to prepare her daughter because she had just hit and killed the pedestrian. Watch closely. What happens next is tough to witness.
I was just driving on the road. She just jumped out of nowhere. How the f does this happen? I was just driving. Brandon?
Yep, I'm here.
I think I murdered her.
You don't know that for sure yet.
I don't know. Am I in trouble? They even said it. They even said she came out of nowhere. She just literally jumped in front of the vehicle.
But this is an investigation, okay? This is your car, right?
Yeah, that's my car.
Were you the only one in it?
Yes, I was going to grab a friend. I was on my way to grab a friend. I was like 10 minutes away. And everybody in those cars said that she jumped out of nowhere. She literally came in front of my car. I didn't see her.
Is anybody else that witnessed it?
Yeah, the other cars, they even told me, they're like, baby girl, we didn't see her. She came out of nowhere. She hopped in front of the car.
How hard do you have to hit someone to knock their socks off? That's crazy. I can't wrap my head around that.
We got basic knowledge of how to do this.
Way back there. Past Orchard. She went a long damn way. Probably on the hood for some of it.
Go to a police station or something. I have to pee. I just want this done. I just don't want to keep sitting here looking at the crime scene.
Crinkle in history right now.
Yeah, I didn't know if they had occupied. I'm trying to get a hold of Adam.
While paramedics did everything they could, investigators at the scene started connecting the dots. It didn't take long for alcohol to become a suspected factor, something that completely changed the direction of the case.
I'm from today because I see that you live in, was it?
Yep, I work at the Pony.
At the where?
The Pony, it's a strip club.
Oh, okay, I got you. All right, I work there, and where were you heading to?
I was just grabbing my friend.
Okay, where's that?
I was like 10 minutes away. I have her address on my phone.
Just going to pick up your friend?
Yeah.
Obviously driving southbound on Knoxville. Are you familiar with this road at all?
No, I'm not from out here at all.
How long have you been in Peoria?
Barely ever.
Okay. So there's other cars around you that were in front of you?
Yes, there was a car, the black SUV.
Black SUV was in
Yeah,
front of you?
there was a couple.
Okay. Do you know where she came from? Was she walking on the road?
She was walking on this side of the road.
Were you driving? Were you doing anything else? Like taking a drink from soda? Were you on your phone? Were you
I was just driving.
Just driving? You know about how fast you were going?
No, not really.
Were you driving with traffic? Were you driving slow or faster with traffic? Were you told that she passed?
You've been drinking any alcohol today?
No.
Using any illegal drugs?
No.
Using any illegal medications, anything like
No.
that? Okay. I don't have any reason to believe that right now, but it's a question I gotta ask.
Okay.
What I would like to ask is if you'd be willing to give me a breath sample to show that you don't have any alcohol in your
Okay.
system. Would you be willing to do that?
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So for this, deep breath in, long steady breath like you're trying to blow up a balloon, okay? Blow, 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 blow. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Very good. Been drinking today?
Just at the bar earlier this morning for a Bloody Mary.
Okay.
Shouldn't have been anything though.
How long ago was that?
Hours ago.
How many hours ago?
Well, it's an hour and a half to get to Peoria from my place, so hour and a half before all this.
Okay. You haven't been drinking? Well, it was like a Bloody Mary like a while ago, like when she was at home. Oh.
I smell perfume, but I thought I may have gotten a slight odor as I was talking to her.
0.16.
0.16.
I smell shit. Yeah.
The woman was ultimately charged with 2 counts of driving under the influence, both classified as Class A misdemeanors. But more seriously, she also faces 1 count of aggravated DUI, a Class 2 felony that's not just a slap on the wrist. If convicted, she could be looking at anywhere from 3 to 7 years in prison. As of this recording, her jury trial is scheduled for May 12, 2025. So now the question becomes, was alcohol truly to blame for this heartbreaking crash, or was it an unfortunate coincidence in a terrible moment? What do you think? On December 17th, 2024, a shocking assassination was caught on camera, and it sent shockwaves through both Russian and international circles. Lieutenant General Igor Kurylov, a high-ranking Russian military official, was killed when an explosive device hidden inside an electric scooter detonated near his home. The blast was powerful and deadly, not only taking Kurylov's life, but also that of his assistant, Ilya Kopov, who happened to be nearby at the time. Shortly after the incident, Ukraine's security service known as the SBU publicly claimed responsibility for the assassination. They didn't mince words, labeling Kurylov a war criminal and calling the attack a justified strike. According to the SBU, Kurylov had played a direct role in deploying banned chemical weapons against Ukrainian troops, which made him, in their eyes, a legitimate target. In response, Russian authorities acted swiftly. They arrested a 29-year-old Uzbek national named Akhmad Kurbanov, accusing him of carrying out the bombing. The FSB, Russia's Federal Security Service, later reported that Kurbanov confessed during interrogation. He allegedly told investigators that he had been recruited by Ukrainian intelligence, who promised him money and a new life in a European Union country if he completed the mission. The assassination not only reignited tensions between Russia and Ukraine, but also raised serious questions about how far each side is willing to go in this escalating shadow war. The man in the white t-shirt you're looking at is Luka MYUU, a predator hiding behind a keyboard. He lured his unsuspecting victim, June Lin, through a Craigslist ad that promised a casual sexual encounter. What June didn't know was that he was walking straight into a nightmare. June Lin was a young Chinese immigrant chasing the dream, studying to become a computer engineer in Canada, full of hope and ambition. But those dreams would come to a horrific end in MYUU's apartment. After meeting up, the two headed upstairs together. Later, MYUU is seen again on surveillance footage, but something's disturbingly off. He's now wearing June Lin's t-shirt. June himself is nowhere in sight. What follows next is deeply unsettling. MYUU is caught on camera making multiple trips out to the trash bins behind his apartment. Each time, he's carrying bundles suspected to be parts of June Lin's dismembered body, disposing of them little by little, as if trying to erase what he had done. But he couldn't erase the evidence, and soon the entire world would witness the chilling depths of his crimes. It's not often that we actually catch a serial killer in the act, but in this rare and haunting piece of footage, we witness the chilling final moments of 18-year-old Samantha Koenig. In the video, Samantha is seen closing up her coffee stand for the night. Everything seems normal at first. She moves through her routine, glancing outside from time to time, checking the window as if sensing something isn't quite right. It's subtle, but there's this growing sense of unease, like she knows something's coming. Eventually, she flips off the lights, probably wrapping up for the night and getting ready to head home. But that's when the video turns completely dark, and so does the story. You can't see much once the lights are out, but what happens next is terrifying. Investigators believe Samantha was attacked in those very moments, grabbed, threatened, and either dragged or forced out of the stand. This grainy footage would end up being the last time anyone saw Samantha Koenig alive. Her disappearance shocked the community, and it wasn't until much later that her body was found, uncovering a nightmare far more sinister than anyone had imagined.
Give them a video? Yes. Pull that one first. All right, let them get ready. Y'all ready? Come on. Guys, back. It's Jim.
The world can be a dark and horrifying place, but every now and then a survivor's story shines through the shadows. That's exactly what happened with Kala Brown. After going missing for 2 months, Kala was found chained up inside a metal shipping container deep in the woods of South Carolina. Her abductor, a man named Todd Kohlhepp, a cold-blooded killer who had already claimed multiple lives. The footage you're seeing captures the exact moment rescue teams discovered her. It's haunting. Kala looks pale, weak, and completely exhausted, but you can see a flicker of relief in her eyes. One of the rescuers carefully cuts through the heavy chain locked around her neck with bolt cutters. It's slow, delicate work, but they eventually free her from the grip of her captor.
Someone got a weapon. I got it. Watch out, boss. Back up.
Hey, Joey.
Sheriff's officer.
Sheriff's officer.
What?
Grab that.
Back up there.
Just one. Are you okay?
Grab what? Go.
Do you have any weapons? Coming through, okay?
What's your name? What's your name, man? Lauren. Gotcha. All right. Just a girl. Just a girl. How are you, honey? This is bolt cutters. This is our best. He's a paramedic.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As she's being led out of that metal prison, Kala does something incredibly brave. She starts talking. Despite her trauma, she begins telling the officers everything she knows about Kohlhepp's crimes. Names, locations, and how many people he admitted to killing. Thanks to her, the bodies of other victims were finally recovered, giving closure to grieving families.
Hit the chain right there, loose. Hold it up. Yeah. Just right there at her hand, Brandon. We'll get it off. We'll get it off here. Cut it right here. Do you know where your buddy is?
Charlie?
Yes.
He shot him.
He shot him? Who did?
Todd Kohlhepp shot Charlie Carver 3 times in the chest, wrapped him in a blue tarp, put him in the bucket of the tractor, locked me down here, and I never seen him again. Okay. He says he's dead and buried. He says there's several bodies dead and buried out here, and he says that the dogs will be ruined if they go looking because there's red pepper.
We're going to step you out, sweet. Because there's what?
Red pepper.
Okay. Tell the dog people that.
Unlike many others who fell victim to Todd Kohlhepp, Kala survived, and while her story is horrifying, it also ends with something rare, a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest circumstances, some people make it out alive.
I don't think it was necessary for them to shoot him at all.
On the 9th of December 4th, 2024, a routine call turned deadly in the parking lot of a Safeway store in Vancouver, Washington. It was just before 11 p.m. when officers approached 45-year-old Adam Grant Gunderson. The exact reason for the contact hasn't been confirmed, though Gunderson did have an outstanding warrant for fleeing from police in a prior case. It's unclear if that's what drew officers to him that night.
How's it going, man? What's going on, boss? Oh, my hunch.
Just seeing what you can find?
Yeah, just getting some scratches.
Nice. This thing's closing down. They're tearing it apart yet?
I have no idea.
Oh, cool.
So there's dumping a bunch of stuff out, so.
Okay, cool. Is this your pickup?
Why?
Because there's no front plate on it. Oh, I'm just asking, boss. What's your first name?
Doesn't matter.
Why are you so standoffish? Okay, alright. Is it your pickup or no?
Well, what does it matter?
Because we need to identify it, right? Is there a back plate on it?
Why do you need to identify it?
Because it's a vehicle, right? Nope, you're not going to get in yet.
What started as a simple encounter quickly escalated. According to reports, a physical struggle broke out between Gunderson and one of the responding officers identified as Officer Boland Flores. During the altercation, Gunderson allegedly pulled out a firearm, prompting Officer Flores to discharge his own weapon.
Out of the car. 45, right in the front. Hey, don't fight. He's fighting me. He's got something. Not what he dropped. Get on the ground. Get on the ground. Hands out. Hands out. Dude, you're gonna get shot. He's got a gun. He's got a gun. No, I didn't. Then drop your gun in your hand. No, I don't. Release your hand. Let me see it. I'm sorry. Let me see your hand, dude. I believe. 45. I believe. Drop it now.
I'm bleeding, bro.
He has a gun in his hands.
I'm bleeding.
We got him pinned on the ground, though.
I'm bleeding.
Yeah, give us your right hand.
I'm bleeding, bro.
You're gonna get shot. Do you understand? Dude, you're gonna get shot. Hey, you're getting shot right now if you don't give me your hand. He's got it out. He's got it out.
Multiple shots were fired, several striking Gunderson in the head. Despite being rushed to a nearby hospital, Gunderson was later pronounced dead.
I haven't really been able to accept it, but it makes me feel really, really angry. Kind of like my best friend, he was always really goofy.
Jenna doesn't think her father was a threat to the officers. She cites the part of the video in which her father's yelling that he's bleeding.
I'm bleeding! I'm bleeding!
I don't think he deserved that, and I think everyone should know that he didn't deserve that. There's a lot of people out there saying rude things, but he didn't deserve it.
Officer Flores didn't walk away unscathed either. He suffered a broken hand and a bite wound during the confrontation and required medical treatment. The Washington State Office of Independent Investigations has since launched a thorough review of the incident, aiming to determine exactly what happened and whether the use of force was justified. In the meantime, Officer Flores has been placed on critical incident leave, which is standard procedure following a police-involved shooting. As with many cases like this, it has raised questions about police protocol, use of force, and how quickly situations can spiral into tragedy. On May 17, 2023, a nurse at the Yallambia Lodge Aged Care Facility in New South Wales, Australia, made a tense call to emergency services. One of the residents had armed herself with 2 kitchen knives and was roaming the halls, frightening other residents and staff. Despite multiple attempts to calm her down, nothing worked. Fearing someone might get hurt, the nurse knew she had no choice but to call for backup. The resident in question was Claire Nowlin, a 95-year-old woman with a remarkable past. She was known and loved in her community. In fact, when she turned 80, she marked the occasion by going skydiving, something she had always dreamed of doing.
Oh, hey, something I've always wanted to do and I've done it.
Even into her 90s, Claire was active and full of life, but time eventually caught up. At age 90, Claire moved into the Yalombe Aged Care Facility. In the months leading up to that fateful day in May, Claire's condition had sharply deteriorated. She had been diagnosed with dementia, a heartbreaking illness that slowly erases memory and can cause severe confusion and even aggression. The Claire that everyone knew began to fade away. In the weeks before the incident, Claire's behavior became increasingly erratic. She had tried to climb the front gate of the facility, gotten stuck in a tree, and even pushed another resident using her walker. These weren't acts of violence. They were the actions of someone no longer in control, trapped in the haze of a failing mind. When emergency responders arrived, things took an unexpected turn. Claire was nowhere to be found. Somehow, despite her frailty and dependence on a walker, she had vanished from the immediate area. But she hadn't gone far. CCTV footage later revealed she had quietly moved into the facility's treatment room, out of view. She had even put down one of the kitchen utensils, but she was still holding one. When the officers finally located her, they approached cautiously. Footage shows Claire standing there, clearly confused, barely able to move at all. She was asked to drop the knife, and she did set down a small penlight, but kept the blade. Then she slowly began to shuffle toward them. This is where things took a tragic turn. Senior Constable Christian White was one of the officers on the scene. Faced with the sight of this frail 95-year-old woman moving toward him at a painfully slow pace, he issued several warnings, taser in hand. But within minutes of finding Claire, Officer White made a split-second decision. Claire collapsed instantly, hitting her head on the hard floor, but she wasn't. Her skull had fractured from the impact. Claire was rushed to the hospital, but just a week later, she died from a brain hemorrhage. Officer White was charged with manslaughter. He pleaded not guilty, claiming he was protecting others from potential harm. But prosecutors argued the force used was clearly excessive, pointing out that Claire moved so slowly. It took her over a minute to walk just 1 meter. The body camera footage from that night was shown in court but never released publicly. According to those present, it was so disturbing that some people had to leave the courtroom. Christian White was eventually found guilty of manslaughter and dismissed from the police force. Claire Nowlin's death was more than a tragedy. It was a heartbreaking end to a long, full life. Her community remembered her as a gentle soul full of generosity and kindness, a skydiver at 80, a mother, a grandmother, and a beloved figure to all who knew her. She deserved better. Throughout his legendary career with the FBI, retired Special Agent John Douglas came face to face with some of the most notorious killers in American history. But of all the twisted minds he studied, there was one who stood out as especially horrifying: Gary Heidnik. A Philadelphia resident, Heidnik styled himself as the bishop of his own self-created church, the United Church of the Ministers of God. But behind the strange religious front was a man with monstrous intent. He specifically targeted vulnerable Black women, those struggling with mental illness or disability. And time after time, they either left him or were taken away by others. Heidnik became obsessed with control, so in an effort to never lose anyone again, he dug a pit in the basement of his house. 4 feet deep, dark, and cold. It would become a dungeon of unimaginable horror. On November 25, 1986, 26-year-old Josefina Rivera, desperate for money, agreed to go home with Heidnik. She was a sex worker just trying to get through another night. But when she got up to leave, Heidnik pounced, choking her until she blacked out. Josefina woke up handcuffed, naked and trapped in that basement pit. Soon, the screams of another woman filled the air. 24-year-old Sandra Lindsay, Heidnik's second captive. And over the next few months, 3 more women would join them. They were enslaved, raped, beaten, starved. And if any of them resisted, Heidnik used horrifying punishments. Survivors said he would stab their ears with a screwdriver as punishment, anything to break their will. Josefina, understanding that her only hope was to play along, began to cooperate. Slowly, she earned his trust. She became his favorite, and eventually Heidnik trusted her enough to let her leave, under the condition that she would bring him another victim. Instead, Josefina ran straight to a payphone and called the police. At first, officers didn't believe her story. It was just too bizarre, too disturbing to be true. But when they searched Heidnick's home and opened the basement door, the nightmare revealed itself. Just as Josefina had said, 3 women were still alive down there, but 2 others weren't as lucky. Sandra Lindsay and 23-year-old Deborah Dudley had both been murdered for misbehaving.
How much verbal exchange did you have with the girls down there in the basement?
At first, I tried to make it nice, right?
Yeah, how did you do that, Gary?
I was holding parties there for one thing. I had a Christmas party and a New Year's party. 8, they go down in the hole in the morning, board goes over the top of the hole with the sandbags and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and then they stay down there till roughly about 8 at night. Okay, now on this particular day...
Got a radio down here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Playing real loud?
Yes.
Why is that? To drown out any noise?
Right.
In case because you're leaving the house sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah, so you don't...
That was a conscious act on my part, and that was essentially the reason.
To drown out that noise, for sure.
Well, they might like a little entertainment, too. You know? Nothing was working. I was trying to find something that worked that would make them shut up to stop hollering. So I could stop
progressive kind of infliction of pain on these women.
I was trying to find something that would make them behave.
But it was painful to them.
I hope so. I'm sitting there, you know, trying to figure out what the hell to do, you know? What the to do, you know? I started chopping up the body.
Heidnick's lawyers would later argue he was legally insane, but the courts didn't buy it. His crimes were calculated, methodical, and deeply cruel. On July 2, 1988, Gary Heidnick was sentenced to death. This case haunted John Douglas for years, not just because of the brutality, but because of how calculated it all was. Gary Heidnick wasn't just disturbed, he was a predator who built his own house of horrors and then locked real people inside it.
Emergency. Hi, I just found a body. Oh, go ahead, caller. What's your emergency? I just found a body. Right, okay. A body, is it? Are they breathing? No, they're dead. They look like they've possibly been there like a few days or something. With some flies and stuff. Right, okay. Bear with me a second. Let's put this on. What's the rate?
When you first see Gemma Mitchell on screen arriving at Mi Quinn Chong's apartment, she looks calm, composed, maybe even kind, but behind that serene expression was a chilling secret. By the time she rang the doorbell, she had already planned one of the most gruesome murders in recent UK history. Let's rewind to where this dark story began. Gemma Mitchell had lost over £230,000 to rogue builders who took off with her money. Desperate to recover financially, she turned to her friend Mi Quinn Chong, also known as Deborah, a devout Christian woman who struggled with schizophrenia. Mi had initially agreed to help, offering £200,000 toward Mitchell's home renovations. But then Mi changed her mind. Instead of giving the money, she suggested something else. Why not just sell the property and live comfortably? That one suggestion was enough to make Gemma Mitchell snap. On June 11, 2021, she arrived at Mi's home in Wembley with a large blue suitcase, the same one caught on CCTV footage. But this wasn't just a visit, it was a premeditated murder. Mitchell, a trained osteopath with intimate knowledge of human anatomy, killed Mi Quinn in cold blood inside her own home. Then she stuffed Mi's lifeless body into the suitcase she had brought with her. What happened next was just as disturbing. For nearly 2 weeks, Mitchell kept Mi's body in her house. Then on June 26th, she drove over 200 miles to Devon and dumped the suitcase in a wooded area near Bennett Road. There, the body was eventually discovered, badly decomposed, and left in the elements. On July 6th, police came knocking at Gemma Mitchell's door. She lived with her elderly mother. When officers placed her under arrest, her expression was one of disbelief, like she never thought she'd actually be caught.
Hello there.
Hello, how are you?
Yeah, good. There's no answer. Sorry, what's your name?
Sorry, we were asleep.
Are you Gemma?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, Gemma. Just could you hold a second?
Sure, sure.
Come on a second.
Sorry, could I ask
Gemma, do you want to come out?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just want to see them.
Hand just over your hands. Alright, Gemma, at this moment, I'm arresting you on suspicion of murder. Okay, you don't have to say anything, but you may have a defence. Do you want to mention one question, something which you later rely in court? Anything you do say may be given evidence, okay? Once we're in your cuffs.
Am I allowed to...
I'll go explain everything to you, okay?
Should I get some
Yeah,
shoes
sorry.
then?
What?
If you want to one sec.
Inside?
Who's inside at the moment?
Mother.
Your mother?
Yeah.
Okay. If you wanna, oh, can someone lift that up?
Yeah. Let's step back inside.
Is anyone else inside? Just your mum?
Yeah.
There is someone else inside,
No,
or just your
that's
mum?
just my mum, yeah.
All right. Do you wanna show bring her out, or
Bring her in.
bring her in?
For a minute.
Well,
yeah.
we're just gonna come in for a sec, okay?
Sure.
But the evidence was undeniable. CCTV footage, GPS tracking, the recovered suitcase, and a devastating discovery inside. This wasn't a moment of rage. It was a calculated, cold-blooded murder, driven by greed, entitlement, and the belief that she could get away with it.
And they've said that the person driving the Volvo waited in the car all that time with the windows down and the front door open, the passenger door open, when it was literally chucking it down with rain and it was windy. Why is that, Gemma?
No comment.
The car stank, didn't it, Gemma?
No comment.
Stunk of a dead person.
No comment.
Stunk of Deborah's decomposing body. Is that right, Gemma?
No.
Back in '85, May 15th to be exact, this little girl, Rima Traxler, who was only 8, was walking home from Washington Elementary School. You know, just a normal kid heading home after classes. But get this. According to someone who lived nearby, this Longview girl just vanished like poof, about 2 blocks from her own house. Her mom, understandably scared out of her mind, asked a family friend for help. This friend was Joseph Condro, a 25-year-old guy who worked as a laborer. Now here's where it gets really twisted. Fast forward 14 years, and this same Joseph Condro actually confessed to not only kidnapping Rima, but also to raping and strangling her. Can you believe that? And the crazy part is, he confessed while he was already on trial for murdering another young girl, 12-year-old Kara Rudd, back in '96. So this guy was a monster.
Kara, for a while, we'd play cards together and stuff.
How would you describe her person? I mean, as a kid?
She was very energetic, but she was very defiant too when she believed in things. That morning when I woke up, I knew what I was going to do. I was completely aware of what I wanted to do. I drove to the school and I pulled into the parking lot. Kara jumped in my car.
What's the exchange between you and her? And
there wasn't really much of an exchange. I just drove her out to the house and we talked a little bit.
But happy though, right? I mean, it's not. She doesn't know she's in danger.
No, she doesn't know she's like I said. I was playing on my victim's trust, and that's a big thing. You know, when you do these kind of crimes, is the person has to trust you for you to lure them in.
Why a child? I mean, what's the motive behind this?
I think it's just the convenience of the situation. You know, children are very trusting, and I was very close to their family members, and you know, I played their trust.
Basically, it's an easy target.
It was an easy target at the time. Yeah.
What finally was the stressor that you're going to commit a crime, and it's going to be this child, or, you know, Rima?
It was an impulsive reaction, so I just, you know, I went down, took her down to my house, and I told her to stay in the pickup, and I went in the house. I called work and said I wouldn't be in that day, and drove her out to Germany Creek and raped and murdered her.
At what point it really kind of tipped you over where now you began to act out the fantasies?
I don't know, 13, maybe 12, 13 years old. One night, there was this girl that was working at a local neighborhood store, and I went to the store after they shut down at 11 o'clock, and I asked her for a ride, and she said, sure, and she got me into her car, and, you know, I pulled a knife on her and stuff. She cried and stuff like that, and please don't do this, and I didn't do it. I didn't go through with it, no.
So you stopped, you felt sorry for her?
Yeah, I did.
You didn't expect her to cry, you didn't expect her to react that way?
Yeah.
And it was kind of a turn-off?
Later, I overcame those, you know, feelings. My fantasy was just to rape and murder my victims. That was the whole fantasy part of it. The police department, investigations, that was part of it, but my murders, you know, they were like the high point. The fantasy is only a motivation. There's nothing better than the act itself.
Had you not been identified, would you have kept going?
Yeah.
You would have kept killing?
Yeah. I felt real comfortable about killing. I mean, killing for me was just like second nature now. I just kept on going.
No regrets back to 1985 with your first victim? Any regrets there?
No.
How about 1996?
Yeah, I would have took her out to a different spot.
So she wouldn't have been found?
Well, that was the idea. That was the intention.
Anyway, Condro ended up getting a 55-year prison sentence. But then 13 years into his time, he died from liver disease. And the really awful thing is, it's likely he took the secrets of any other kids he might have hurt with him to his grave, just to complete injustice for those families, you know? Imagine the heartbreak of discovering your child's lifeless body in the woods, stabbed repeatedly just hours after a normal evening. This was the gut-wrenching reality for Stacey Bailey, whose daughter Tristan was brutally murdered by her classmate, Aiden Fuzi, shown here at 16 years old. The story unfolded like this. Aiden, who had obtained Tristan's number through a mutual friend, called her and convinced the young cheerleader to meet him at a friend's house. They were at least acquaintances from school, but what transpired next was anything but innocent. At 5:17 p.m., Aiden left his home and headed to the meeting spot. This doorbell camera captures the activity as it all unfolds across the street.
The video that we're about to see is from what location?
It's from 103 Wellwood Avenue, and it depicts Aiden traveling to the Absher residence.
Okay.
By 6:31 p.m., Aiden's girlfriend arrives, riding a skateboard. The situation grows more disturbing by the hour. By 7 p.m., Aiden and his girlfriend leave together, but Aiden soon returns to the house, hanging out with a friend in the driveway. The white shoes Aiden is wearing now becomes a crucial part of the story.
Starting from the bottom to the top of Aiden, you can see he's wearing white Nike shoes with a black Nike swoosh. He's wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt.
Basically, what does this video depict?
It's showing Trey and Aiden in the driveway skateboarding.
And was those actions consistent with what Trey kind of described that they did that night, hanging out before Tristan came over?
Yes.
Around midnight, Tristan is seen leaving her home and meeting up with Aiden. The footage is haunting, the last time Tristan would ever be seen alive. At 1:45 a.m., Tristan disappears from view.
Show the two subjects walking from the top left to the top right, and they're traveling in a direction east towards the cul-de-sac of Saddlestone.
And Sergeant, your agency and you've reviewed so much video in this case. Do you ever see anyone else with who we now know as Aiden, Fucci, and Tristan walking in that neighborhood?
No.
Later footage shows Aiden carrying the white shoes in his hand, running away from the area before walking back home, still holding them.
We're going to see one subject who's alone and running west away from the cul-de-sac. You can see that he's carrying something in his hands. And again, you can see that he's not wearing shoes, but he's carrying what appears to be white shoes in his hands. So Cascadel Court intersects with Saddlestone Drive over towards your right on this video, and you can see him walking up to his house. And here you can clearly see the white Nike shoes with the black Nike swoosh.
Tristan's body was found in the woods with multiple stab wounds. Aiden Fusi eventually pled guilty to murder and was sentenced to life in prison. On February 2nd, 2018, a freezing cold day in Akron, Ohio, 23-year-old Tierra Williams returned to her apartment to a horrifying sight. Her 2-year-old daughter, Winter, was found on the porch, unresponsive, cold as ice. The distraught mother immediately called 911, but it was too late. Winter had been outside in the frigid cold for an unknown period, without proper clothing or supervision. Her father, Darian D. Parker, had fallen asleep after working a night shift, leaving Winter unattended while her mother and older sibling were out for just 2 hours.
Taking emergency. Oh my God! Hold on, take a deep breath. What's going on there? Oh my God! I'm sorry, what? Oh my God, she's not breathing! Your daughter's not breathing? Okay. Ma'am, did she take something? No, she was outside. She left. She left. She was in a purple. She's frozen. Ma'am, we have somebody on the way, okay? How old is your daughter? Okay, take a deep breath. Did she take something? No, she didn't. She had eyes closed. She's not responding to me. Okay, ma'am, how old is your daughter? She is 2. Okay. She's 2. She's frozen. She's frozen. How old did you say she was? She's 2. You said she's 2? Okay, what happened to her? She must have went outside. She went outside? Yes. Yes. Ma'am, can you bring her back inside? She's inside. She's inside. She's inside. Okay, I need you to put her on her back. Lay her flat on her back on the floor and remove any pillows. You said okay, listen. Yeah. Is there anything in her mouth? Are you able to get her mouth open? It is open. Okay. All right. Can you turn her on her side and make sure there's no fluid or anything in her mouth? Okay. Okay. And you said how long was she outside? I have no idea. Okay. No. Ma'am, this is what I need you to do. I need you to place your hand on her forehead and the other hand underneath her neck. Okay. You're going to carefully tilt the head back. You're going to pinch her nose closed and completely cover her mouth with your mouth and then blow 2 regular breaths into the lungs. I need you to do this. You're doing great, okay? Honey, did you feel them go in and out? Did you feel the breath go in and out? Ma'am, I need you to answer me. Did you feel the air go in and out? Yes. Okay. All right, listen carefully. I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions, okay? Place the heel of your hand on the breastbone in the center of the chest, right between the nipple. Okay. Just one, okay? Okay. You're going to push down 2 inches with only the heel of one hand touching the chest. You're going to pump the chest hard and fast at least 30 times, which is at least twice per second. You're going to make sure the chest comes up all the way. She's foaming out the nose and the mouth. Honey, listen to me. Turn her to her side and wipe all that out. Okay. Okay? Stop. Put her back on her back. Okay, she's on her back. Okay, do you see her chest going up and down? Honey, listen. She's not breathing. No, I don't know. Okay, all right. Okay, listen to me. Can you put your ear next to her mouth? I don't hear nothing. Okay, all right, this is what we're going to do. I need you to go ahead, and I'm going to tell you how to pump her chest, okay? Go ahead and give her 2 breaths, then 30 pumps. Then 2 breaths, then 30 pumps, okay?
Okay.
Ma'am, honey, I need you to do it. You're doing very well, okay? Honey, we're already, listen, we're already on the way. We've been on the way. Honey, I need you to listen to me. You are doing great. Keep going, okay? Oh my God, I don't know. Go ahead, keep going. I need you to pump, okay? I need you to count with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
It's steady coming out of. It's steady coming out. When I punch it in her stomach, it's coming out.
That's totally fine. Keep going, okay? Keep going. You're doing very well.
Is this stuff supposed to come out?
Yes, ma'am. Keep going. I need you to wipe it out of her mouth. Scoop it out if you need to. Turn her on her side.
I can't get her teeth open.
Okay. All right.
It's not to work.
Honey, keep going. 2 breaths and 30 pumps. Count out loud with me, okay? Ready? Are you ready to do the pump?
Yes, I'm pumping.
Okay, keep going.
I'm pumping. Where are
Honey, we are on the way.
Oh my God.
Okay, go back. Okay, listen to me. Go back to the 2 breaths, then the 30 pumps.
Winter's tiny body couldn't withstand the bitter cold. She was rushed to Akron Children's Hospital, where she was tragically pronounced dead from hypothermia. The devastating loss of their child caused a rift in the parents' relationship, and they eventually separated. Both Tiara Williams and Darian Parker were charged with child endangering, a felony. Parker, who took full responsibility, was sentenced to 2 years, with the possibility of parole after 6 months. Williams, who was pregnant with their 3rd child at the time, was sentenced to 18 months in prison. However, after serving just 3 months, Williams applied for early release and was granted it. After her release, Williams struggled. Just months after being let out, she was convicted of assault for attacking her own mother, Angela Graham, and a neighbor. This led to another jail sentence of 180 days and additional conditions for anger management classes. Despite her release, Williams found herself back in court for violating her parole by committing the assault. Judge McCarty, who had earlier granted her release, acknowledged that Williams needed more structure and ordered her to enter a re-entry program designed to help people transition back into society. The tragic story of Winter's death, followed by the parents' legal battles, highlights a devastating series of events where the pain of losing a child led to further turmoil in their lives. Kamila Belitskaya, a Russian actress known for her presence on social media, tragically lost her life on November 29, 2024. The 24-year-old was practicing yoga on a cliff at a scenic beach in Koh Samui, Thailand, when the unexpected occurred. Prior to the incident, Kamila had shared her excitement online, calling the rocky beach the best thing I had ever seen in my life. Unfortunately, it was during Thailand's monsoon season, and while she was taking in the sights and sounds of the place, a massive wave suddenly crashed over the rocks, sweeping her out to sea. Rescue efforts were launched immediately, and although her body was later recovered, Kamila's life could not be saved. Authorities had previously issued warnings about the dangerous coastal conditions during the monsoon season, but the tragedy still unfolded. In response to this, the rocky areas at the viewpoint where Kamila was practicing yoga have been closed to the public in an effort to prevent similar accidents in the future. It was the night of July 10th, 2014, and the Budd family Kay, her father Randy, and mother Sharon were driving from Ohio to New York City for a Broadway show. They were only in Pennsylvania when tragedy struck. Kay was at the wheel, Randy was resting in the back seat, and Sharon rode up front. It was supposed to be a fun road trip, but as they passed under the Gray Hill Road overpass on Interstate 80, everything changed in an instant. A sudden thunderous crash shattered their windshield. It felt like an explosion. Kay pulled over and turned on the light, only to discover something horrifying. A massive rock about the size of a volleyball had smashed through the glass and struck Sharon in the head. Randy, in complete panic, called 911. His voice trembled as he pleaded for help, realizing his wife was barely clinging to life.
God, something came right through the windshield. Hi, I'm on the highway, Route 80. Something just came through my windshield, and it hit my wife, and I think it went right through her head. Oh my God! Can you please can you get an ambulance somewhere? Can you track this phone?
Where on Interstate 80 are you?
Oh my God! She is grasping for her life.
Okay, what is your name, sir?
My name's Randy Budd.
The phone number you're calling
Oh my
from?
God, half her brain's gone. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Paramedics rushed Sharon to the hospital where surgeons performed emergency procedures to relieve swelling in her brain. A large part of her skull had to be removed and doctors weren't optimistic. Her family was told to say their goodbyes. But Sharon, a cancer survivor and fighter at heart, defied the odds. She pulled through. Though the damage was severe, she lost part of her brain, her sight in one eye, and underwent multiple facial reconstructions. Her skull was later replaced with medical-grade plastic, and she was left with lifelong disabilities, relearning how to walk, talk, and function with constant care. And it wasn't an accident. The boulder that changed their lives forever had been thrown intentionally by a group of teenagers standing on the overpass. The teens had been vandalizing with baseball bats and had taken their recklessness to the next level. One of them, Dylan L., dropped the fatal rock onto the Bud's car. All four were caught and sentenced. Dylan received the longest term, 4.5 years. The others, his brother Brett, Tyler Porter, and Kia McGee, each served shorter sentences and were released on parole. Despite the trauma, Sharon stayed remarkably positive.
What keeps you strong? What keeps you so happy inside?
This guy, he takes good care of me.
Her love for Randy, who supported her relentlessly, was unwavering. Randy became a passionate advocate, pushing for legislation that would require protective fencing on overpasses to prevent such tragedies.
We strongly believe from the get-go that if there's protective fencing up on that highway, I probably wouldn't be sitting down here talking with you today.
He succeeded in Ohio and was fighting hard to bring similar laws to Pennsylvania.
It's done. We won. We got it done.
But the emotional toll was too much. On August 6, 2016, Randy Budd took his own life. Those closest to him said he carried immense guilt over what had happened to Sharon. Less than 3 hours before his passing, he texted State Senator Gene Yaw, "Please get the fence issue settled." Even in his final moments, he was thinking of others, hoping no family would ever endure what his had. Sharon now lives in an assisted care facility. Despite losing her husband, her health, and life as she once knew it, she continues to smile, to laugh, and to love. And she keeps Randy's ashes with her, a quiet reminder of his strength, his love, and his relentless fight to protect others. Everyone has their breaking point, that line in the sand where pain, betrayal, and fear finally boil over. For Fiona Beale, we may never know the exact moment when she snapped, but what we do know is chilling. After 17 years of emotional abuse, infidelity, and trauma, she made a decision that would change everything. She killed her partner. To the outside world, Fiona was the picture of calm, a dedicated primary school teacher, quiet and composed. But behind closed doors, she was harboring a dark secret and a growing garden that concealed it. After the murder, Fiona didn't panic. She didn't flee. Instead, she carefully crafted a plan to hide the body, one that seemed straight out of a TV crime drama. She dug a grave right in her backyard, buried him beneath a layer of dirt, planted a peaceful garden on top, flowers blooming above the horror no one knew was hidden below. But no matter how much you try to cover something up, the truth has a way of pushing through the cracks. Nicholas Billingham was murdered on November 1st, 2021, but for months, no one had a clue. It wasn't until March 2022 that his decomposing body was discovered buried beneath a carefully manicured flower bed in Fiona Beale's backyard. But what happened in the days following his murder is even more chilling. Security footage from November 13th shows Fiona calmly walking into a garden supply store, blending in like any other weekend shopper, but her cart told a different story. She wasn't there to spruce up the lawn for spring. She was buying the tools to bury a man and hide the evidence in plain sight. 10 50-liter bags of compost, 10 22.5 kilogram bags of Cotwold stone. It wasn't just landscaping, it was a cover-up. The compost filled in the grave, erasing the telltale signs of a hurried burial. The decorative stones on top, they added a charming touch, enough to draw compliments instead of suspicion. When Fiona returned home, she got to work, reworking the garden, covering her tracks, hiding her crime behind roses and stone. For nearly 5 months, the body of Nicholas Billingham lay undisturbed, buried beneath the flourishing plants Fiona had so carefully arranged. No one knew, not the neighbors, not her co-workers, not even her students. The chilling part? She went about her daily life, teaching kids, smiling in the grocery store, while her secret rotted just steps from her back door. There was a time when Kim Jong-nam was expected to lead North Korea as the eldest son of Kim Jong-il. He seemed like the natural successor, but something changed. Somewhere along the way, he fell out of favor, and the reasons are still debated today. Some believe it was an embarrassing incident in 2001 that ruined his chances. Kim Jong-nam tried to enter Japan using a fake passport, reportedly so he could visit Tokyo Disneyland. It sounded bizarre, but in a tightly controlled country like North Korea, that kind of behavior was unacceptable. Others say it wasn't about Disneyland at all. Instead, it was his desire to modernize North Korea that made him a threat. He had voiced support for reforms and criticized the regime openly. By 2003, he was living in exile. For years, he moved between China, Macau, and other countries in Southeast Asia. He kept his distance, but he didn't stay silent. He spoke critically of his brother Kim Jong-un's leadership and warned against turning North Korea into a family-run dictatorship. That kind of talk likely put a target on his back. Then came February 13th, 2017. Kim Jong-nam was at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia, preparing to catch a flight. He walked through the departure hall alone, unaware that someone had been sent to kill him. Surveillance cameras captured what happened next. A woman walked up behind him and quickly rubbed something across his face. At first, it seemed like a prank, but within seconds, Kim Jong-nam knew something was wrong. He went to airport staff, pointing to his face, panicked and struggling. They took him to the airport's medical center, but it was too late. He had been exposed to VX nerve agent, one of the most lethal chemical weapons in the world. A tiny amount is enough to kill, and that's exactly what happened. Kim Jong-nam died shortly after, slumped in a chair, unable to speak, far from home. The two women involved in the attack say they were tricked. They thought they were filming a hidden camera show and had no idea they were carrying out an assassination, but authorities didn't believe it was that simple. This wasn't random. It was a carefully planned operation, and most signs pointed back to North Korea. Many believe Kim Jong-un, now the leader, ordered the hit himself. His older brother had become too outspoken, too risky to leave alive. If true, it was a message to anyone else who might challenge his rule. In the end, Kim Jong-nam's story is a quiet tragedy. He was once poised to rule a nation but died alone in a foreign airport, taken down by a calculated and cold act. His death serves as a reminder that in North Korea, power is everything, and even family isn't safe. For 20 years, the people of Wichita, Kansas lived with the fear of a serial killer who called himself BTK, short for Blind Torture Kill. Then in 1991, just as suddenly as he appeared, he vanished. The killing stopped, the letter stopped, and over time, many believed he was either dead or in prison for something else. But in 2004, everything changed. Out of nowhere, the BTK killer resurfaced. He began sending a new wave of cryptic messages to local media and police. In total, there were 11 new communications. The last one was different. It wasn't just a letter. It came in a package, and inside was something that would finally break the case open, a floppy disk. The disk had been wiped, but investigators were still able to recover fragments of its metadata. What they found was shocking. It led them to a computer at Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita. From there, they traced the username on the disk to someone named Dennis Rader. A search at church records confirmed it. Dennis Rader wasn't just a member of the church. He was its president. The evidence didn't stop there. Investigators obtained a DNA sample from Rader's daughter and compared it to genetic material found at multiple crime scenes. It was a close enough match to confirm what police had long suspected. Dennis Rader was BTK. For his daughter and the rest of his family, the news was impossible to believe. To them, Rader was a loving father, a devoted husband, and an upstanding member of the community. But decades earlier, he had brutally murdered another family, the Oteros. It was January 15th, 1974. 15-year-old Charlie Otero came home from school and immediately sensed something was wrong. The kitchen looked like it had been torn apart. He called out, hoping someone would answer. Then he heard his sister's voice upstairs, crying for help. Charlie ran to the second floor. From the hallway, he looked into his parents' bedroom. What he saw would haunt him forever. His father, Joseph Otero, lay on the floor beside the bed. His mother, Julie, was on the mattress. Both had been tied up and strangled. When police arrived, Charlie begged them to find his younger siblings before they saw the horror inside. What he didn't know, what no one knew at the time, was that 9-year-old Joseph Jr. and 11-year-old Josie were already inside the house. They too had been murdered. That day marked the beginning of BTK's trail of terror. Dennis Rader would go on to kill 10 people in total, and for years he lived a double life. Father, husband, church leader by day, cold-blooded murderer in secret.
So anyway, they became a potential target.
So they were convenient.
Convenient.
How did they fuel the sexual fantasy then? Was there anything specific about that?
Mrs. Otero was attractive, and then I saw Josephine too, and the door opened. So here I am, So do I just walk out the back door and they call the police, or I go for it? And I went for it. I went in. I think it was a younger Otero. They were all in the kitchen. They were making sandwiches.
Male or female?
No, it was the younger, the junior, Joseph. Mr. Otero actually stepped up and told him I was coming for some food. I was wanted in California, or wanted. I needed some food and water and some money and transportation. That was my ruse to kind of calm him down. He kind of laughed a little bit. And he said, "What is this a joke? Who said you were my brother-in-law?" And that's probably was their demise. If they probably struggled and fought with me, that would have been a different story. But they felt fairly comfortable. So that's what I was going to do. Okay. Well, I'll go, I'm a bad guy. I care for people. I have concerns for people. So. And I hadn't really crossed that path yet where I was going to kill the people yet, so I was still in concern mode. And then I went in the other room and I thought, do I just leave or what? They already know me, my face, so I went back and put a plastic bag over Mr. Otero's head and put a garment over his neck and pulled up on it, and that's when it really hit the fan then, because they all could see what I was doing.
Your kids were watching this?
Yes, they were watching it. They were screaming and hollering.
Did you want to move them from the scene at all?
No.
I
had to get in control. It was really noisy. They were screaming and
the noise was bothering you.
Yeah, the noise was bothering me, and I knew the mailman would be out there or somebody would be walking by, so I had to control it very quickly. It was just something that I had to do. Once I started with Mr. Otero, I knew I had to do all 4 of them. Sexual fantasy is if I'm going to kill a victim or do something to a victim, is have them bound and tied. Now, somewhere along the line, in my dreams, I had what they call torture chambers, and to relieve your sexual fantasies, you have to go to the kill. And I don't think it was actually the person that I was after. I think it was the dream. I know that's not really nice to say about a person, but they were basically an object. They were just an object. That's all it were. I had more satisfaction building up to it and afterwards than I did the actual killing of the person.
It almost sounds like that's something separate and apart, like a different person.
Yeah, it's part of the compartment. I can switch back and forth, and once this character takes over, whatever it is, it drives me onward.
You can't stop it.
I can't stop it. It's just, it controls me. It's like it's in the driver's seat.
Sometimes things aren't what they seem, and when you learn the full story, even the most ordinary moment can take on a disturbing new meaning. In this clip, an elderly woman steps out of her apartment in St. Petersburg, casually carrying a couple of trash bags. At first glance, it's the kind of quiet, forgettable scene that plays out every day. But look a little closer, and the truth behind this footage becomes far more unsettling. That woman is Tamara Samsonova, known across Russia as the Granny Ripper. And those bags she's carrying, authorities believe they may have held dismembered body parts. Her calm, routine behavior, just an old woman taking out the trash, feels deeply sinister once you understand who she really is and what she's accused of. Because behind that harmless exterior was a history of violence and a series of gruesome crimes that shocked even seasoned investigators. What once seemed mundane is now unforgettable. On just his 9th day at a new job, Matt Flores arrived at work around 8:15 a.m., ready to settle into his role as a newly hired engineer at Applied Materials, a company known for producing semiconductor chips. But before he could even start his day, tragedy struck as Matt pulled into the parking lot in a rented white Chevy Corsica. A nearby employee heard gunshots and looked over to see him lying by his open car door, bleeding from a fatal head wound. It was a broad daylight execution in March 1994, witnessed by more than 20 people who immediately called 911. Emergency crews arrived quickly, but it was too late. Matt had been shot at close range and died instantly. Strangely, there were no shell casings or signs of a struggle, suggesting he was ambushed without warning. Despite the crowd of witnesses, no one actually saw the shooter. Surveillance footage covered most of the area, but not the spot where Matt parked. One suspicious vehicle caught on camera, a dark Ford Explorer, had been circling the lot and appeared to follow Matt's car before the shooting. Moments after he arrived, Matt was dead and the SUV sped away. Unfortunately, the footage wasn't clear enough to identify the driver or the license plate, leaving investigators with few leads. 3 main theories emerged. A year earlier, another Applied Materials employee had died under suspicious circumstances, sparking rumors of a possible serial killer. That theory faded after the earlier case was solved with no ties to the company. Still, the coincidence was unsettling. Matt had a mysterious military past, including a connection to Nicholas Ganji, a man whose death was initially ruled a hit and run but later appeared suspicious. By 2016, all records of Matt's military service had disappeared, raising questions about whether he and Ganji had known something dangerous enough to get them both killed. Since Matt was driving a rental car, investigators considered the chilling possibility that he wasn't the intended target at all, that someone else was meant to die, and Matt was killed by mistake. The investigation stretched across 4 states, involved over 1,000 interviews, and cost more than $100,000. Yet nearly 30 years later, no one has been held accountable. The only clue remains a blurry security video, in the hope that someone, somewhere, knows the truth. Seeing someone on camera before they commit a brutal act is unsettling, but watching them act completely normal just moments before makes it even worse. CCTV footage shows Sean Bull and his friend Paulius Petrauskas casually walking to a store together, laughing and chatting like any pair of close friends. There's nothing in Sean's behavior that hints at what's to come. It's just another quiet evening, or so it seems. But the calm doesn't last. Not long after they return home, the same CCTV cameras capture Sean again, this time sprinting away from the scene of a violent crime. In his hand is a hunting knife, the very weapon he used to fatally stab Paulius. Though Sean Bull wasn't a serial killer, the footage paints a disturbing contrast. A friendly, familiar face turning deadly in an instant. Thanks to the clarity of the CCTV and the timeline it revealed, police were able to arrest him quickly after the attack. In 1990, 24-year-old Connie Lynn Royce was easing back into dating after a recent divorce. A business school student, she had made plans on the night of June 1st to go out for drinks with a man named Greg and his friend Brad. She drove her light blue 1980 Chevy Citation to Greg's apartment in Mount Clemens, Michigan, left her car there, and the 3 of them headed to a local bar called the Hayloft around 10 p.m. Security footage captured the trio entering the bar. Connie, wearing a black mini dress with a floral skirt, appeared to be in good spirits, and witnesses said nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But about an hour later, something changed. Connie told Brad she had to leave and abruptly exited the bar without her purse or shoes. Surveillance footage showed her stumbling, clearly intoxicated. When Greg returned from the restroom and heard what had happened, the two men searched outside for her but couldn't find her. They stayed at the bar until it closed, hoping she'd come back. She didn't. There was a possible sighting of Connie near a nearby payphone soon after she left the bar, reportedly next to an older 1970s-style car. However, no one saw her get inside. Another alleged sighting placed her at a nearby apartment complex, but police later ruled it out. Both Greg and Brad fully cooperated with the investigation and were ruled out as suspects. Bar staff confirmed their story and said Connie had about 4 drinks that night. Connie's ex-husband and a former boyfriend were also questioned and cleared due to strong alibis. Interestingly, earlier that same year, Connie had left her house barefoot after an argument with an ex, which made some wonder if her sudden exit from the bar could have been part of a similar pattern. Several theories emerged. She may have accidentally fallen into the nearby Clinton River, though searches turned up no signs of her. She might have been drugged and followed out of the bar by someone with bad intentions. The payphone sighting suggests she may have tried to call for help or a ride and encountered danger afterward. It's also possible she was abducted while wandering in a vulnerable state. In 2019, Detective Lieutenant Melissa Stevens with the Macomb County Sheriff's Office reopened the cold case, hoping that renewed attention might finally bring answers. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant, friends.